to the European Union for its consistent military, political, financial and humanitarian support. In particular, I want to thank the European Commission and personally Madam President Ursula von der Leyen for the initiative of new Ukraine facility, which will provide medium and long-term support for our economy and recovery. The new Ukraine facility will also support our efforts to rebuild and modernize the country while implementing key reforms on EU accession track. Over the past months, we have laid the basis for winning this war. We believe that we are going to win this war and we will win the peace that follows. I say we many times because this is our common achievements, our common work, our common tasks. We need to accomplish long-term stability, security and prosperity for Ukraine and for the region. We have already begun our long and difficult journey on rebuilding Ukraine. A year ago in Lugano, we held the first major conference on Ukraine's recovery. At that conference, our discussions primarily were around plans, roadmaps, challenges, and prospects. A year later, here in London, our discourse extends beyond plans, encompassing notable achievements as well. We are now addressing the 10 key aspects of Ukraine's recovery, which provide us with a competition of where we are going, and what else we need to do to win this peace. The first aspect of Ukraine's recovery, damage assessment. We have said that the first thing we need to start with is an independent, professional and transparent assessment of damage and reconstruction needs. Together with the World Bank and the European Commission and the UN, we have created such a tool. We have carried out rapid damage and needs assessment. This document provides a comprehensive overview of the impact of the war in 20 different sectors. As of 21st February this year, reconstruction needs have already reached $411 billion. This is an unprecedented figure. Unfortunately, it does not yet encompass many losses, including the damages inflicted by the horrific terrorist attack carried by Russian forces at the Kakhovka hydroelectric power station. We are grateful to the World Bank for actively assisting us and agreeing to promptly conduct an assessment of the damages resulting from this dreadful terrorist act. We appreciate World Bank's support in evaluating all the losses and firmly believe in the necessity of continuing this work. Therefore, the program of large-scale recovery and transformation of Ukraine will also be unprecedented. It will be the largest reconstruction project in Europe since the Second World War. The second aspect of Ukraine's recovery is stages of recovery. The first stage is rapid recovery, which we started last year and are now actively implementing. We are talking about projects that are really necessary for the survival of the country and the people in the face of war. The World Bank estimates that we need $14.1 billion for such priority recovery projects this year. The second stage will be a long-term reconstruction which will take many years, and we are now starting to lay down a plan for its implementation. The third aspect of Ukraine's recovery, priorities for rapid recovery. Last year we also talked about the importance of setting the right priorities for recovery. For this year, our government has identified 5 key priorities. These are energy, humanitarian demining, housing, critical and social infrastructure, and supporting the economy. As I have already said, we need $14.1 billion for the priority tasks in these areas. We have projects in all these areas. Ukrainian ministers will present them in detail with calculations, responsible agencies and timelines. We expect that at this conference in London, we will finally be able to mobilize the full amount needed for these projects. This is a priority and a very practical story that we have to make together. The first aspect of Ukraine recovery is recovery architecture. The implementation of all these projects requires a special recovery architecture and regular platforms for cooperation. Last year, we created the position of Deputy Prime Minister for Restoration of Ukraine. We have also established the State Agency for Restoration, the dedicated fund for overcoming the consequences of aggression, and the position of Deputy Ministers for Recovery in the relevant departments. We are actively engaging regional authorities, which is an important element of the decentralization reform. Alongside the internal recovery architecture, we have established a new mechanism for a regular interaction with our international partners. This is the multi-agency donor coordination platform for Ukraine. From now, the Deputy Prime Minister for Restoration will be the representative of Ukraine in this platform. The fifth aspect of Ukraine's recovery is transparency. Speaking about the recovery architecture, we have mentioned many times the words transparency and accountability. We are making sure that these are not just words. Ukrainian reconstruction should become synonymous with transparency. Last month, we presented the digital restoration ecosystem for accountable management, or DREAM, as we call it. The ecosystem will allow to control every stage of any recovery project in a very short period of time. More than 5,000 sites for restoration have already been entered into the system. The sixth aspect for Ukraine's recovery is parametric approach and build back better principle. At the Lugano conference, we said that we wanted to carry out recovery using two approaches, the parametric approach and the regional approach. The parametric approach is the principle when the government sets the general framework, the broad policies, and the general requirements. What does this mean in practice? For example, we have set new requirements at the legislative level for the construction of residential buildings, in particular that they must now have a bomb shelter. We have also developed requirements for schools and hospitals and are setting up community safety centers. Energy efficiency, green technologies, security, all this should be a mandatory part of the new infrastructure in the reconstruction. The seventh aspect of Ukraine recovery is regional approach. The regional approach is when our international partner countries take patronage of regions and communities in Ukraine and help implement recovery projects here. 30 countries have signed a declaration supporting the initiative to provide coordinating assistance to rebuild Ukrainian communities and regions. During last year, more than 300 territorial communities in Ukraine have signed 1,500 partnership agreements. Nearly 60 countries are helping our cities, towns and villages to recover. Currently, more than 200 projects are being implemented or have been implemented jointly with partner countries or international organizations. The eighth aspect of Ukraine's recovery is sources of financing the recovery. One of the key questions we are constantly facing is who will pay the hundreds of billions for the recovery. First and foremost, Russia must pay for what it has destroyed. We are preparing a fair mechanism that will allow us to confiscate up to $500 billion of Russian assets frozen in the West. In May, a historic decision was taken at the meeting of the Council of Europe to establish a register of damage caused by Russia's aggression against Ukraine. This is the first component of the international compensation mechanism. The second source of funding for reconstruction is the Ukrainian budget, including funds from confiscated Russian assets in Ukraine. The Ukrainian budget for 2023 has already earmarked $3.3 billion, and we have already started reconstruction with these funds. The third source is the assistance from our international partners, including international financial organizations. We are grateful to all of you. Our partners have already pledged $4.3 billion out of the total $14.1 billion needed for the rapid recovery for the next 12 months. But we still need another $6.55 billion. We have set an ambitious goal of securing pledges for this amount as a result of this conference. The ninth aspect of Ukraine's recovery is involvement of the private sector. No large-scale, effective and rapid recovery is possible without the involvement of private capital and private investment. We believe that it is business and entrepreneurs who can make our recovery truly effective. We are already offering projects and investment opportunities to international capital. Together with the World Bank, the US International Development Finance Corporation and other partners, we are working on an effective war risk insurance model for investment in Ukraine. We have identified 5 key segments that will form the basis for the recovery and transformation of our economy. The first sector is energy. There is a huge potential in the electricity sector, gas production and storage, and also hydrogen energy. President of Ukraine emphasized today in his speech on this sector especially. The second sector is a military-industrial complex. Many Ukrainian weapons and developments are proving their effectiveness on the battlefield right now. European and global defense companies are increasingly considering options for building new production facilities in Ukraine. After the war, we expect a great boost in the development of this sector in Ukraine. The third sector is agriculture. Ukraine is already world leader in the production of many crops. With government incentives and private foreign investments, we believe that post-war growth in this sector could be in double digits. The fourth sector is infrastructure. The recorded losses of this sector now exceed over $100 billion. Colossal destruction. So for many years, it will be the market that is worth tens of billions of euros. We will actively offer public-private partnership and concession projects. The fifth sector is IT. We have ambitions to become a digital hub in Europe. We offer IT companies some of the most favorable tax and regulatory conditions in the world. In general, we are telling the private sector that those who invest in Ukraine today will have extraordinary opportunities and prospects in coming years. The 10th aspect of Ukraine recovery, Ukraine is changing. Recovery of Ukraine is not just about rebuilding a power plant, a road, a house, or a hospital. Recovery of Ukraine is also about the transformation of our country, a new quality of institutions, and a new living space, a new European Ukraine. The planned changes and reforms are clearly in line with our aspirations to become a member of EU. We understand that Ukraine must change, and Ukraine is transforming right now. For this year, our government has identified 10 priority reforms and transformation projects: European integration, security and defense, new veterans policy, human capital development in the face of extraordinary challenges, new economic model, logistic development, and of course, rapid recovery. In addition, we have fully established the anti-corruptional infrastructure, the National Anti-Corruption Bureau, the Specialized Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office, the High Anti-Corruption Court, the National Agency on Corruption Prevention. These are important institutions that allow us to ensure the principle of inevitability in punishment and the rule of law. At the same time, our government is carrying out a major digitalization reform, a large-scale deregulation for doing business, the corporatization and the privatization of state-owned enterprises. These are the necessary changes that will allow us to prevent corruption. Dear friends, dear partners, Ukraine is changing and Ukraine is winning. Our victory will be the beginning of a renewed and stronger Europe. We are united in defense and we will be united in recovery. We are grateful to everyone who is helping us fight for our freedom and independence today. I would also like to express my gratitude to the government of the United Kingdom, personally to Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and Secretary of State James Cleverly, for co-organizing this conference, this perfect conference. Such events enable us to synchronize our efforts and work together towards the victory and recovery of Ukraine. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your tremendous support. Thank you so much. Slava Ukraini!
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for that terrific morning. We've heard courage and we've heard commitment, and we're now going to take a break. We're going to be back here for a hard start at 11:40 so that we can run a session on those immediate needs that we've been discussing. So if you could all be seated again at 11:40, thank you very much.